Hello, everybody. Welcome to Out of Bounds. I've got Malik Wright, Terrence Johnson, Riley Byers, Lauren Moore, and Kenny Matthews and Matthew Davidson. How's it going tonight, everybody?
Good. Doing good. Doing good.
Great.
All right.
Great. How are you?
It's good. How's it going?
It's really red there, Terrence. What's going on?
Check this OU weekend. This is how we get our crimson, baby, by turning them horns upside down.
Okay, I was wondering what the deal was. All right, let's get started real quick with the last week's most valuable players. And we've got something that I've never seen before. We've been doing this 3 years, and everybody's been following the Dallas Morning News Player of the Week. I was following it back in in the 70s. When I was playing in the early 80s, and I've never seen this. Offensive and defensive player from the same school. Okay, offensive MVP. Kadrick Cobbs, and he's a sophomore. 12 carries, 183 yards, 5 touchdowns. Gyres 55-24 win over Plano East. Close second. Okay, and it was hard. The Skyline QB. I cannot read this. Tell me out, Terrence.
Skyline's QB, Velton Gardner.
Yeah, Pelton Gardner.
Dual threat quarterback.
20 of 23, 312 yards, 2 DDs, 24 carries, 294 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So he accounted for 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, he did.
So, seriously, that is a tough call. And I'm going to tell you what the difference was. A sophomore, 12 carries, 183 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 12 carries, and he's a sophomore. I think that, both kids deserve a helmet.
Yeah, they do. That's a true Raider for you right there.
Seriously.
That's how we roll, baby.
But, the sophomore gets the edge.
That's a close call, but you probably have the right one.
That's the right call.
Deservedly so.
Who agrees? That was tough.
Raider Nation agrees with you.
Terrence, you agree?
Raider Nation definitely agree with you. He had it was 516 total offensive yards, and he accounted for almost all of them.
It was rough, though. All right, and then the defensive MVP. Dylan Borey, 13 tackles, 6 for loss, 2 sacks.
That's stupid numbers, man. Half of your tackles are for behind the line of scrimmage.
That's crazy.
Crazy domination.
2 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. That's
beast
that
mode.
Is crazy.
It's in the backfield all game.
That's beast mode right there. Freak of nature.
Put 2 on.
Malik and I, and I'd never been to Northwest Stadium either, and I had not said anything to Malik. And Dan starts talking about how impressed Malik is with the stadium, and I was like, man, I am impressed with this stadium too. It was really cool. Talk about it, Malik. It was a really nice place.
Man, nice, big stadium with a sports store inside of it. College atmosphere for those kids out there in Northwest ISD. Great fans, great people there at the game.
That's
Too bad home team couldn't pull out the win. It was homecoming night. Couldn't come out with the win. Brewer got them.
And you just said the people were so nice. And we actually had, in the press box, we had our own room.
Wow.
Next to South.
It was crazy. Yeah, it's a nice facility.
Yeah.
Personally served food.
Oh, yeah.
From the press box, everybody, from the whole staff. Shout out to the whole staff.
Yeah, their hospitality is off the chain.
Talk about it a little bit. Brewers 37-14 win. Northwest. I had Northwest winning that game. They got the quarterback, the running back.
That was my first time getting to see both schools. Brewer was playing with the backup quarterback. That they were outsized when you're on the field in person looking at these players. Brewer was outsized, and you kept thinking, with it being homecoming night, Brewers or Northwest QBs being established, you're gonna think that Northwest was gonna put the pedal down at some point, but Brewers stayed tough, forced turnovers, way too many turnovers for Northwest. 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions, and Brewer played great defense, ran the ball extremely well. Shout out to Adam Duncan, backup quarterback, coming in and get his first win.
Okay, and this week, Malik, we've got one school we don't see that much, but it's up there. And I mean, we got Malik. He's going to UNT. He's a Arlington Bowie graduate, so he sees a lot of the Denton games, and we've seen a lot of the Ryan games, is what you've seen. But this week, you're going to be seeing a game that, I mean, Wichita Falls at Denton. I mean, you've been to one Denton game.
Yeah, I've seen Denton. Actually, yeah, once or twice. They have 2 great running backs in Xylon Posey and Corbin Shelley that they rely on. They're on a little losing streak right now, 4-game losing streak right now, and perfect time to be playing Northwest. They're fighting for or to be playing Wichita Falls. They're both fighting for 4th place. So big game for them to get off their skid.
Okay, and then a big game. I mean, maybe the biggest 4A game in the state. Who knows?
Oh yeah,
Decatur at Argyle. I mean,
yeah, offensive explosion with both teams. Argyle averages 48 a game. They only allow 13. Decatur's already scored 60 twice. Scored 60 last week. They've had trouble scoring against those numbers against good teams. Argyle has a great defense, but it should still be a shootout. I have Argyle coming out of that one, but I'm hoping for a good game. First time me seeing either team. But one thing that I did just doing research on them, I see their defense has 17 sacks this year, 6 interceptions, and they only give up, like I said, they only give up 13 a game. So that's crazy to me right there, that you're not even giving up 2 touchdowns a game.
And it's one of the best. Kenny will agree with this. I know he will, because we saw when Argyle played Ranchview when they had Keedron Wadley and Rocket Ishmael.
Yep.
That was Argyle is one of the best coached teams, and I mean, you can see when they.
You said Rocket Ishmael like 99.
Yeah, but no, this was Rocket Jr.
Yep, Rocket Jr.
It's his son.
His son. Yep.
But I mean, it's like it's drawn up on the piece of paper when at you, because Kenny and I were sitting in the end zone, and this is a Ranchview team that, I mean, was a top 10 team in state that year.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was like poetry.
Yeah, 175-point differential. And we're not even halfway through with the year yet. Just getting district started, and they're already 175 up.
Their quarterback's a difference maker, too.
Yeah, quarterback already with 1,300 yards. McCollum, Nanny, Gonzalez, Williams, 6 touchdowns already. Just weapons upon weapons. And
big offensive line, too, for 4A.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I've seen
for a 4A school, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and I've seen the Ryans of the world, but I'm thinking that this may be one of the better teams that I've got a chance to see, and I'm hoping that they show that. Decatur at 3-2, so a good chance for them to get right back in the hunt for first.
All right, well, let's hear your pick 6 then.
Okay, who do we? And well,
we got Jesuit and Skyline first.
Jesuit and Skyline. I'm gonna go with Dallas Skyline. Shout out my man Terrence.
Arlington Martin at Mansfield.
Yeah.
As a movie volunteer, I will not pick Martin high in this game. I'm gonna go with Mansfield.
Okay, that's gonna be it. All these are tough ones this week.
Yeah.
Geyer at McKinney.
Geyer.
Okay. Hebron at Marcus. Marcus, all right. Timberview at Legacy.
Legacy.
And then West Mesquite at Highland Park. That's probably for the district championship.
I'm going to go with Jerry's son, Highland Park.
You mean Jerry's grandson?
Grandson, Highland Park.
Okay. All right, moving on to some game last week. Some people might have thought Battle of the Axe. Lauren, you want to talk to us a little bit about the Battle of the Axe?
Yes. Well, starting off, the Axe is home. The score was 18-7 with the Axe returning back to Marcus, and it was Coach Atkinson's first home win as the head coach of Marcus, and lucky timing, very big game. Justin Dinka had 174 yards, while the Marcus defense allowed 124 yards. Special teams made quite a bit of plays, and offense, while Justin Dinka was able to get rolling, they struggled a little bit with the ball in the air. They had 2 turnovers and just really set the bar high looking farther into the season.
So, Lauren, being a Marcus student, what was it like to take the Axe back there at the stadium that night?
It was wonderful. We were able to just scream and shout and just have that Axe home and staying home, not having to go on any type of car ride.
And you got a big game this week, right?
Yes,
I mean, probably 2 playoff teams going at each other within the district, right?
play Hebron this week for a homecoming game.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Well, Hebron's coming off a 56-17 win against LD Bell, which, being Hebron, it's not very surprising with their offensive power. But last week, their defense showed power too. So the Clayton Toon, Trajan Bridges connection just really shined in that game, and offensive line was able to stay strong, which helped everyone game them. So in order for Marcus to beat Hebron, looking at them, the teams match up pretty well, but Hebron's just a more known team, and Marcus is a bit quieter and doesn't always shine that much. And so basically, if Marcus keeps strong and thinks they can do it, go in with that underdog mentality that they've been able to go into multiple times this season and come out with a win, such as against Mansfield, should be a pretty good game.
But, I mean, Clayton Toon and Trajan Bridges, I mean, those are 2 really good players. I mean, what's Marcus' defense got to do to stop them?
Well, Marcus's defense has really shown a lot of power this year. Their defense, like last week, allowing 124 yards, and against Mansfield, I believe, only allowed under 100. So D-line is able to just keep on pushing into that offensive line, and then the DBs just continue to stay on lockdown. Then Trajan Bridges and Clayton Toon should not be a big name.
So who are some of your better defensive backs at Marcus?
I'd have to say Daniel Sheehan and Kevin Netters just really show some power, help direct the team, lock down some pretty big receivers.
And Sheehan, I mean, I know he started last year. How long's he been on varsity?
Just the past 2 years, I believe.
Okay. Well, but I knew he was a big factor there.
Yes.
Okay.
3 years.
Let's go to the pick 6, Lauren.
All right.
Jesuit at Skyline.
I'm gonna have to pick Skyline.
Oh, Terrence will like that.
I love it.
Martin at Mansfield.
Martin, just they score so much, and Mansfield's
It's a tough pick.
Yes.
Pick carefully on that one.
Geyer at McKinney.
Geyer, they just defensively show a bit more.
But who would have thought that this would be such a big game at this point in the season? I mean,
Right.
And now, this pressure for Lauren.
Oh, yeah.
Hebron at Marcus.
Like I said, Marcus come out with the win if they play with enough heart. Those boys play well as an underdog this season, and I think they're going to embrace it this Friday.
Timberview at Legacy.
Legacy.
And then what might be for the district championship?
I'm going to go with
It's for the district championship. West Mesquite and Highland Park.
Highland Park. Just their passing offense is insane.
That's true. All right. Well, let's move on to Matt and Riley. Let's talk about that DeSoto 40-12 win over MacArthur last week. Riley?
Well, as expected, DeSoto won, but I feel like it wasn't as convincing as it should have been. I don't know if this is just my opinion, but DeSoto really hasn't shown me much this season. They don't seem as strong as they were last year in their state championship run. I feel like they're more vulnerable this year than they were last year.
And you don't mean they're not any good. You're just not DeSoto last
year.
I'm
just not. I mean, obviously they're still one of the best teams in the state, but I'm just haven't been impressed by them that much. Like, because I mean, Cedar Hill's starting to show that they're not as impressive as a team as everybody thought they were, and they kind of then just even though it's a rivalry, DeSoto struggled with Cedar Hill.
Okay.
And
sorry. Good, Riley.
Yeah, and MacArthur actually was able to hang around for the first half before DeSoto pulled out and turn on their offense. But yeah, like I said, DeSoto is just not as impressive as they were last year.
Okay.
DeSoto is going to have to use more of their defense this year. Their offensive weapon, Coco Douglas, was hurt this past game. He had a separated shoulder. Coach Peterman told me after the game he just didn't want to risk it. He said he'd rather save him for their homecoming game against Grand Prairie this next week because they know Grand Prairie is much improved after the way they took South Grand Prairie toe-to-toe. And so, the district's much tighter, but it's in different ways. It used to be Cedar Hill as a powerhouse. Now it's a little more even with South Grand Prairie and Grand Prairie kind of fighting for that now. So you kind of see talented teams kind of starting to even out a little bit, and you see Duncanville just kind of rising up. And then it makes you wonder what's going to go on with this district.
And now, okay, Matt, I know you went to both schools, but you're a Grand Prairie alum that you claim. Mm-hmm. We've got South Grand Prairie intern, Riley Byers. Let's talk about that game. Riley, you go on first.
Well, I mean, I feel like if anybody's opinions matters, like it should be mine, because if I'm saying that the GP and South game was like, I don't know, like I feel like Grand Prairie was the better team in this game, and like I said, that opinion should matter because I do go to South, and like I'm being very unbiased about it, but like GP really should have won the game. What a game!
I mean, what a game! I mean, tied.
Yeah, I mean, like you just go back to certain plays in the game, and you just like if you really like, I feel like if they played this game again, GP would come out on top. Like you had to play on the goal line or not on the South Grand Prairie side of the field where they fumbled the ball and there was an inadvertent whistle, and they stopped South's forward progress, and GP ended up not scoring the touchdown, and South scored later that drive, and that ended up being the difference in the game. So I mean, like I said, you play this game over again, I feel like Grand Prairie wins.
Yeah, it was a very controversial in the second quarter because the South Grand Prairie was getting the ball and they were starting off on the 2-yard line, and so the first play their quarterback tried to do a quarterback sneak and he gets hit, and the ball comes out. Well, he keeps on going forward progress, and there's a defensive end from Grand Prairie recovers it in the end zone and grabs it, and then they huddle up and talk about it for like 3 minutes, and then they say the inadvertent whistle, and then a lot of people from Grand Prairie said there was no inadvertent whistle, and then you guys all this controversy going on.
But 16-14, I mean, and am I right? If I remember right, there was a play at the end of the game, towards the end of the game, that swung it in South Prairie's. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was basically where the quarterback he dropped back, and instead of throwing it out, he tried to run around, and he ended up getting sacked for a safety. And then whenever GP punted it to them from the safety, because they punt it or they kind of kick it for the safety, South got the ball again, and then GP stopped him. GP got an interception, and then the crowd's going crazy, and it's 16-14, and GP's got their own destiny in their own hands. There's 50 seconds left, and everything's going crazy, and they just don't get it done. The few penalties.
I mean, and for everybody that's watching, I mean, I'm not like looking at notes. I'm just going. I mean, when we're out at games, I'm watching the tweets from all over the place, and I saw that there was a big play, and I was just like pulling that from my memory. Riley, you talk about that a little bit.
Which play?
I mean, about there was a play at the. I mean, was it the quarterback sack? Or, I mean, there was some in the
At the end of
last
the game?
5 minutes of the game that kind of swung the game.
Well,
I remember
that interception at the very end, Riley.
Yeah.
The one that ended the game.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like what killed the drive was the pre-snap penalties for Grand Prairie, because they started the drive, they actually started to drive down the field, and me and Matt looked at each other and we felt like Grand Prairie was able to drive down the field because they have a really good kicker, and I feel like if they just would have been able to get in field goal range, they would have got the job done. But some penalties in that final drive kind of hurt them.
Okay.
Yeah, penalties were their worst enemy in that game, literally. And there was a couple other fumbles that were called down by contact that GP felt they should have had. It was just a really ticky-tacky game.
Oh, it was a tight game. It was a tight game. Anything could. I mean, a penalty could have swung it. But anyway, Riley, this week we got you at Red Oak at Lake Ridge. I mean, obviously, I know who you think's going to win. Lake Ridge,
yeah,
good team. Tell me
a
little.
I've had the chance to watch both of these teams. Yeah, I've covered both of them. I saw Red Oak play Timberview and they got beat 49-0. And I don't know. I just feel like Red Oak lacks the athleticism to go toe to toe with a team like Lake Ridge, because Lake Ridge has been very impressive this year. They have one loss and it's to a team in Alito. Like, they're always good. And and when I covered them against Lancaster, that was a very impressive win to me. Their defense really stepped up in that game, and I don't see Red Oak having a chance in this game.
Yeah, Lake Ridge.
Friday night, you have a really good game.
Legacy and
Timberview at Legacy. I mean, I want to hear your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, this is a tricky game for me. I mean, you look at on paper, you say Legacy, no doubt, but you really, like, if you ever seen Timberview play, they're a very good team. They went toe to toe with Highland Park. I feel like they could have won that game, but it's like
athletic, very athletic.
Yeah.
They got some freak athletes.
You really don't know. This game could go either way.
But who do you think? Tell me who you think is going to go.
I feel like Timberview will keep it close, but I think Legacy will end up pulling it out.
Okay.
You did pick 6?
Yeah, let's go. Riley, give me your pick 6.
Okay, well, in Jesuit Skyline, I'll have I feel like Jesuit will pull this one together and they'll finally play a complete game and they'll get their season on track. I got Jesuit winning this game.
Well, here's 2 teams that you know a lot about: Martin and Mansfield.
Yeah, this was a hard game for me to pick. I probably thought about this one for a good hour, but I feel like Martin will come out on top in this game, and it's really hard to pick against Mansfield. I saw them beat Cedar Hill handily, but I feel like Martin will have the upper hand in this game.
I agree. I mean, this is the best Martin team. I mean, in years. I mean, this is a really good Martin team. Garrett McKinney.
Yeah.
I have Guyer winning this game. They've been very impressive to me this season.
And that's an undefeated McKinney team, too.
Yeah.
Hebron and Marcus.
Marcus.
Okay. Timberview at Legacy. You've already told us that.
Like I said, I feel like Timberview will keep it close, and it'll be a really tough game, but I feel like Legacy will pull it out.
Okay, and then you've seen Highland Park, but this is going to be a tough game. West Mesquite at Highland Park.
Yeah, this is another game that I really have to think about, and it's really hard to pick against Highland Park, but I think West Mesquite will win this game.
Well, I'm going to go out I'm going to tell you, I think West Mesquite's going to win this game too. But I'll tell you. But I agree with you. Jesuit at Skyline.
I got Jesuit. I think Jesuit's more disciplined. They're not going to commit too many penalties, and I think Skyline will, and that's going to be the difference in the game.
Okay. Martin at Mansfield.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Mansfield. I think Mansfield's going to go ahead and show people who they really are.
All right, McKinney.
I got McKinney. I think McKinney's going to stay undefeated. I like McKinney. I like what they got going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, at the beginning of the year, who would have thought McKinney would be here undefeated? I mean, that's huge. Okay, Hebron at Marcus.
I got Marcus. I like what Marcus got going on defense. They got some monsters on defense. Marcel Brooks, man, he's a dog.
Timberview at Legacy.
I got Timberview winning that game. Too many athletes. Just too many D1 athletes.
That's a bit of an upset. Okay, and West Mesquite at HP.
I was going to go with Highland Park, but West Mesquite's just got too much right now for me, and they look too good right now. West Mesquite. I got West Mesquite winning that game.
So, a bunch of people agree then. Okay. Well, let's go on out to the guy wearing the OU hat.
Boomer.
Who do you got?
Sooner, baby.
Terrence, who do you got in the OU Texas game?
It's going to be a tough one. But in the end, it's going to be a close win for the Sooners. Even though Iowa State came and upsetted them last week, they deserved it. They was unfocused. This game is always pretty hyped down here in Texas. The Longhorns do put up a fight, but, I'm going to have to ride with my Sooners. Now, if I knew different, but I know they can hang in there and get that win, just limit those mistakes and call the right defenses. Need some safety help over top all day coming from a former safety. I should know that for one. Maybe I'll apply for the DB coach next year at OU, and I'll have that secondary right. But, yeah, OU, baby, for the win.
Well, I'm for anybody that plays Texas. So. Anyway, all right. Let's talk a little. I mean, Duncanville and Cedar Hill. I believe you picked Cedar Hill, and it was a 41-6 win for Duncanville. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I kind of blind picked Cedar Hill just based on the tradition, and I didn't think that their offense was, that big of a weakness. Defense held in there pretty good. What I expected to see out of Duncanville was a high-flying offense. I didn't see that because me knowing Samples and his coach, the offense always go. But what impressed me about them was the defense. 3 takeaways, all for touchdowns. 2 in the air, 1 on the fumble. And when I've seen that defense and how they swarm to that ball, I told Coach, hey, defense win championships. But, I don't know how good the offense is, but I'm used to seeing Samples' offense just fly. So they let me know Cedar Hill had a little something because in the beginning of the game, it wasn't out there. It was like back and forth and punts. And Cedar Hill just couldn't capitalize weak on offense. So that's their Achilles heels right now. Carlos Lynn is a defensive guru. So, you can expect a little defense being played. But as far as the offense, too many holes in it right now. They use 3 different quarterbacks. I didn't know who was who.
That is crazy. I mean, and Matt, am I right? Does Duncanville have like 8 starters back on defense?
Duncanville just has so much talent. They got Keyshawn Johnson, D1 commit. They got Terrence Newman,
like 8 starters.
Marcus Mosley, James Jones, I believe his name is, corner. And then over at left corner, they have Trayshawn Devons. I mean, they just have so much talent.
And I brought it up last week that they've got so many starters back on defense that got beat by Allen. But anyway,
they're back and they're hungry and they're ready to go prove themselves. Yeah.
And man, I hope that was a wake up.
Let's talk about your alma mater this week, Terrence.
Okay, well, Skyline. My alma mater started out 0-3, no wins. They had a big win last week against Lake Highlands, 44-37. Now, Lake Highlands is a pretty solid team.
Yeah.
Pretty solid team, and that surprised me. Me and you, Randy, we covered.
You, and we'll tell everybody. I sent you a text at 10 o'clock. I'm like, hey, Skyline's up with 28 seconds.
Yeah, I was impressed because I had them at the Cotton Bowl, but for them to start out 0-3, now they 2-0 in district means they're running the district. They face a Jesuit team that was the champs last year. They started out pretty sluggish, only 1-4 right now. But I heard they started out sluggish last year and came back and won. But it'll be interesting to see because Skyline's weapon is Velton Gardner. Had over 516 total yards of the offense. He had 312 in the air with 2 TDs and 204 on the ground with 4 TDs. So he was moving. He was doing his thing. What impressed me about Skyline is the week before with DeSoto, 21-7. Not DeSoto. That was the Cedar Hill game. Mind you, I'm sorry about that. But what impresses me, in the last 2 games, they've been very, very explosive. W.T. White, he threw for 4 TDs. And then, like I say, Lake Highlands, he rushed for 4. So he's been having a pretty big year. Velton Gardner, he's a dual threat quarterback.
They seem to be getting better as the year goes on, though. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Mesquite Horn kind of ran through him at the Cotton Bowl. I was kind of embarrassed. I'm here trying to work and like, oh, look at my alma mater. And then Duncanville, their biggest loss actually came from Duncanville, 45-7. So Sample was up in the boot when I was at the Cotton Bowl. So, you already knew how that was going to kind of turn out. He was playing against his successor, who was Derek Robinson. He coached under Samples, left to Brian Adams, came back and coached. So he caught that L. Other than that, I mean, they've been holding opponents down under 20 points. I guess 37 was the most, other than that big Duncanville loss. As for Jesuit, 63-41 lost to Coppell last week. The only win was at that game.
And they can move. I mean, Jesuit can move the ball. I mean,
yeah.
Quarterback. They got E.J. Smith, Emmett's son. I mean, they can move the ball.
I'm looking forward to see him too. Emmett's son. I mean, they beat Richardson last week, 56-34. That's the only win of the season. But before then, the Coppell game, they gave up like 5 TDs in the air. So if my boy Velton can throw for 4, I'm sure he can split this defense of these Jesuit Rangers. I don't even know.
But here's the deal about Jesuit. I mean, they played both 6A state champions, DeSoto and
Plano East.
Travis. They played Coppell and Plano East. Those were their first 4 games. Has to be the toughest schedule in the state.
The world.
Yeah.
I mean,
sounds like the world there.
I mean, crazy. And if I don't know, I'm sure all y'all saw the EJ the video I did him on Twitter where he hurdled
Zeke Elliott moment
at the goal line to score. I mean, it was crazy. But okay, Terrence, let's talk a little bit about the South Lake game. Playing Louisville this week. I mean,
South Lake and Louisville, they're coming off a losing game as well, huh? I don't know what's up with the South Lake teams, kind of up and down there. I mean, Arlington Martin got them, then they got Rockwall, and they come back and lose and then win. I know when I talk with
TJ is he's the most consistent part of their offense. Am I right?
Yeah, when he get going. That last game I had, it was Will Bowers. He had the bulk of the yards running and throwing, and then in the second half, TJ turned it on, and I just talked to TJ. He was like, it was just consistency. Coach, just stay. We're resilient, so stay resilient. And he almost had 200 yards that game. He had 192, so he missed it by 8 yards.
But it's like that every week. He gets almost 200 yards. I mean,
yeah. I think he's a late gamer, and it's pretty good because by the fourth quarter, other teams are wore down.
Yeah,
I think you got him, and here he comes, fresh set of legs, and he's pushing it.
And if you look at him, I mean, he does. When you talk about legs, he's got some big old legs, and he keeps those things moving when he's running. I mean, and he wears teams out. That's my opinion. But
oh yeah, he's a stout kid. He's definitely ready for the next level. Workout.
He's just a junior. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the pick six.
That's pick six. Was the win of the lottery.
First game, your alma mater, Jesuit at Skyline.
Nope. We'll go with Skyline.
Martin at Mansfield.
About to take Martin on that one.
It's a tough one, huh? Guy at McKinney.
McKinney's undefeated. Haven't seen Guyer in a while since Sean Robinson and Gerard Hurd. But I know they got a good history out there. That may be a tough one. I'll just say McKinney may stay undefeated.
Hebron at Marcus.
Hebron and Marcus. Seen both of them play. The only thing I like just Dinker a little better.
Okay.
I don't care where they at on the field or what the score look like now. The only thing Hebron may do, they can put up big plays like we seen those 2 drops. We was in the end zone for that. That's the scary part. So Dinker have a lot of yards, but Hebron gets the win.
Okay. Timberview at Legacy.
Timberview Legacy. Let's go with Legacy on that one.
And then West Mesquite at Highland Park. You've seen them both, I think.
I've seen them
Have you
before.
seen them this year?
Haven't seen them play before, not this year. I know
Okay.
Highland Park's rich tradition of football and winning.
I thought
That'd
you
be a
saw
blind one.
both of them. You haven't seen either one of them.
Haven't seen either one. If I were to blind guess and say Highland Park just because of my good friends Matt Stafford from out there, I might take a L because sometimes Mesquite have good schools too. Horn surprised me when I seen them at Skyline. So I'm gonna call an upset with Mesquite going over HHP.
I don't think it's an upset. I think
It's not.
Highland Park's the better team, actually. I mean, not Highland Park. I think West Mesquite's the better team.
I do too.
Okay, Kenny,
What's happening?
what's going on?
Not too much, man. Let's get it on.
How's the baseball playoffs treating you?
Man, it was a big win for them Yankees last night. I'm excited for tomorrow. Sit down, have me some popcorn and enjoy.
Okay. Well, I mean, you saw a blowout Lake Dallas at RL Turner. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, well, Coach Young's team for Lake Dallas came in and took care of their business last week against Turner. The Ryan Depperschmidt kid, man, he had a great game. The quarterback, he was 17 of 20 for 272 yards and 4 TDs and 1 rushing TD. Very efficient game for him. They rushed the ball, 187 yards rushing between 7 different running backs. And then they got a special teams touchdown from Jalen Harris, 60-yard punt return before the half. So that basically sealed the game for them to go in there. But there was a bounce back, 2 wins for Lake Dallas. They beat the Carrollton schools back-to-back after that Prestonwood Christian thrashing 3 weeks ago. So Coach Young thinks that they're going in the right direction now.
And that's where you and I, we are Carrollton Farmers Branch products.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes, I know. Well, the thing also about them is their defense played. I mean, they held Turner to under 300 yards offense, the other night. So it seems like he's kind of getting both sides of the line of scrimmage kind of going the way they are. But their true test is coming up now. I mean, they've got a big game at home this weekend against McKinney North. They're going to be fighting for that 3rd, 4th place probably in that district. I think that's obviously, as long as Prosper stays healthy, I think they'll win the district. But between, Little Elm, the Colony, Lake Dallas, and McKinney North, they're fighting for those 3 spots. There's going to be probably a decent football team that's not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's different before. The Colony would have been right there.
Yeah.
Except for the injury to the quarterback. What's his name? Jamel Jones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. They would have been. I think you and I both thought they were
the district play, but
I think you and I both thought that was the most underrated team in the,
yeah.
5A if Jamel Jones would have been there at the beginning of the year.
We both thought that they were probably going to win the district last time.
But absolutely.
Okay. Well, you've got, I think, as far as last week, you have the game of the week to talk about. The South Lake
pretty good game out in Pennington last weekend.
So, what was the score at halftime? I mean, was it was South Lake what? 21-0?
17-0 at halftime. South Lake. Yep, 17-0.
Take us through that game.
Yep, Trinity got the ball in the second half, drove down the field, about 70-yard drive. One of the best names around is Courage King with a big touchdown. He ran like a beast in the second half. He had 223 yards against South Lake Carroll. And I thought that the key of that whole game, though, was that the Trinity defense only allowed South Lake Carroll to score 3 points in the second half. So that allowed Trinity to play Trinity football, which is rushing the football. If South Lake Carroll puts any of those in for 7 of those 2 field goals, and even when we talked with Coach there at the end of the game, he says it may takes us out of our element and have to try to pass the ball. And Trinity's not near the team when they're trying to pass the ball as they are when they're pounding the football. So I thought that was huge by their defense in the second half.
I mean, seriously, the first week, for the Texas schools, Broken Arrow had already played the other school up in what was the other school that we
Tulsa Union.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Union had barely beat them. Okay,
Right.
close game. Then Trinity gets spanked the next week
Yeah,
by
they
Union,
did. Yeah.
and South Lake beats Broken Arrow. So you're thinking by the time South Lake and Trinity play, I mean it's not even going to be close. But I mean Trinity has made some improvements, obviously.
Well, I think the thing with Trinity is that they finally, it seemed like they've gone back to their bread and butter. Is this, hey, we're going to rush the football and pound and try to wear you out in the second half. And I did think that they were able to, you know, they were able to control South Lake Carroll's running game in the second half and made South Lake Carroll kind of become one-dimensional, which that's another team that doesn't need to be really one-dimensional. They need to be well-balanced, I feel, on offense for them to be very effective. And once that happened, man, the Blunt kid, the corner for Trinity and those guys, they locked them up pretty good in the second half, man. And, man, it was a lot of 3-and-outs, a couple turnovers. And then, I mean, after that, you could tell you could feel the big momentum changing the other way. And, and I thought it was a huge play was South Lake Carroll going for, the fake punt. They go for a fake punt late in the fourth quarter, do not get it. So it's Trinity's ball at South Lake Carroll's 42-yard line. They go on a 5-minute rushing the football drive, kick it in with about 30-something seconds left, the go-ahead touchdown. And once that happened, I thought, man, I said that was Trinity football because I just really thought at that point in time South Lake Carroll just would have punted and make Trinity go 70 or 80 yards to try to go for the go-ahead touchdown.
You got a big 4A game this week. I mean,
yes,
Alvarado and Ranchview. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Kicking in this game is real simple to me, Randy. How healthy is Ranchview? We went out there and saw Coach Smith last week to give the Offensive Player Award out to Sir Roderick Thompson. And, I mean, he told us he's banged up ball club right now. We don't know if Mitchell Henderson and Michael Henderson's going to play. He's in the concussion protocol for Ranchview. So, I mean, obviously that's huge. Alvarado, I mean, I know they come in as 0-5, but they're a very good – tradition-wise, they're a very good 4A team. They played a tough schedule. I went back and looked at some of the guys they've already played already. I mean, Decatur and Jacksonville and some others. And I said, man, they played a tough schedule too.
And another coach from the Cedar Hill Tree.
Yes, it is. As a head coach there as a head coach up there at Alvarado. So, I mean, it's going to be – I think that these two teams are fighting for probably that third or fourth spot in the district there. So it's going to – I mean, this is a huge leg up if you win this game because then you're going to have to hope that you spring an upset down the road. I'm going to take Ranchview in a very small score. I'm going to say like 20-17 because Alvarado doesn't score very much. And not knowing if the quarterback's going to play for Ranchview, I can see this being a very low-scoring game on Thursday night.
Okay, and you've got one of the better games in DFW on Friday night, Guyer McKinney. Let's talk about that.
Well, I think that first things first, you got probably the most underrated player in the area, and Matthew Gaddick for McKinney, all-purpose running back there. He's got 782 yards rushing. I mean, he's 7.5 yards per carry. They're more of a running team. They're not really so much of a passing team like you normally see these days. But, he's very close to becoming McKinney's all-time leader in rushing yards, too, also. So that's one of those where they're going to try to pound the football and give him that record. Yep. Yeah, he's really good. I think that Jeff Smith is an underrated kind of up-and-coming coach there. He's got a good team, 5-0. And, I mean, he made me a believer last week in beating that Plano team that was undefeated and held Plano under 300 yards rushing, and nobody's done that this year. So, I mean, it's – you've got to believe now that they are somebody to be dealt with.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question. Terrence will agree with me. I mean, Plano, they impressed us week 1.
Yes. I mean, anytime you can have Cumbie and the other kid that's got my mind over there, that's Chris. anytime you can keep them under 200 yards between those two guys, you're telling me your defense is pretty decent. So I think that, Geyer's going to come in there, but, they may have, the best sophomore in the area, and Kadrick Cobbs. Here's a guy that's averaging 144 yards a game. He's already got 15 TDs. He's got 15 TDs year to date right now. And I think that with him, it's, you've also got the tradition. I think John Walsh is one of the better coaches in the area. I think that's something you need to try to, remember. Up and coming coaches haven't been in there. And I think Geyer is one of those teams that knows we can't lose anymore if we got a shot at district title. They lose to McKinney this game here. They know that their district title is shot, and you're trying to race for second place, and they already lost to Plano. So they lost that tiebreaker there to Plano. So I think that they know that if they go in there and they beat McKinney and they take care of business the rest of the way, they're district champs probably, or at least have a shot at it.
I agree with you. Let's go pick 6, Kenny.
All righty, let's do it.
Jesuit at Skyline.
I'm a big believer in Parker Towns and E.J. Smith. I'm going with the Rangers.
Okay. Martin at Mansfield.
I'm going with one of the better young coaches in the area, Daniel Mayberry's team. I'm going with Mansfield. Big win over the Colts last week.
Yeah, I think, Mansfield, except against Marcus, they've been impressive.
They have.
Geyer at you already told us Geyer at McKinney. Hebron at Marcus.
I'm going with the three-headed monster, Toombs, Mitchell, and Bridges. The win down there in Lawrence territory. Sorry about that. I like
that should be a good game. I mean, that's Timberview at Legacy, another good game.
Yes, I'm going to go with the Legacy Broncos. They may have one of the best players in the state, safety Jalen Catalan. I mean, that guy plays running back, quarterback, field goal kicker. And if he's not the best safety in Texas, he's in that argument. So I'm going to go with Legacy.
He's an athlete either way.
Yes.
Okay, big game, West Mesquite at Highland Park, Kenny.
Well, I'd love to pick West Mesquite, but I can't do it. I think Highland Park has one of the best home field advantages in the state of Texas. They're undefeated in district games. Has gone on for almost over a decade now. I'm going with the Scots and the bagpipes before the game. Going with Highland Park.
Well, I agree with you. They do have one of the biggest home field advantages, but I'm going to go through my pick 6 right now. And I'm going to go reverse. I'm going to take West Mesquite over Highland Park. Park, and that's huge. That's a huge win if they do. I'm going to take Timberview to upset Legacy. I'm going to take Geyer to beat McKinney. Martin and Mansfield, tough one. I'm going to take Mansfield. And then Jesuit at Skyline. Oh, man, that is a tough game.
Don't have your record in shambles.
I'm going to take Jesuit.
Your record's done.
Coach Hickman.
That record is
and my boy Steve Harry's son plays for Jesuit. So
that's what they're going to be.
Harry, go do it.
Coach Hickman does more with less than anybody in that 6A district.
Who?
I mean, he only has about 30, 35 players on varsity.
I missed what you said. What'd you say?
And they're going to run out of gas.
Jesuit gets more out of less than anybody in the area.
But, I mean, it's a private school, so, I mean, there's arguments in place. But
they're going to my home field in Forster.
And you'll be there.
And I'll be there. I haven't been to Forster since I graduated, I think. Oh, man.
All right, well.
Wait, you forgot about the Marcus Hebron one.
I didn't say that?
You did not.
He said Hebron.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, he was too busy trying to go down on my Skyline Raiders.
That Marcus Hebron. Okay, I'm from Carrollton. Camp out where Hebron is. But I'm going to take Hebron. All right. Up next, we got Rockwall Heath's Nick Harris. Nick, let's talk about that Heath North Mesquite game a little bit. What was it, 35-28 last week?
Yeah, it was, and it's not your typical 35-28 game. There was some missed extra points in there and some weird plays. So from the outside looking in, it definitely wasn't a clean 35-28 game, but it was just a dogfight all the way around. Heath lost some defensive linemen early in the game to injury, and then North Mesquite lost some on their defensive side as well. But Heath was mainly in control for most of the game. North Mesquite had the lead early, and then after that, Heath pretty much had the lead the rest of the way. And it really didn't get to one possession until about the last 5 minutes. And North Mesquite had a chance to tie it, to take it to overtime. But good play by Tyrus Fort on fourth down, in the on the last drive halted that from happening. So, Heath is looking really good right now. They're sitting at 5-1, 3-0 in district, and they're tied atop the district with Mesquite Horn.
And coming off of a big win, I mean, it would have been easy for them to just, come in flat, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. They coming off that 28-27 thriller win a couple weeks ago against Rockwall. I mean, so much energy in that stadium, and then you got to play a game the next Friday night. So they definitely came back and did pretty well, and they came out with a W.
Okay, and Nick, I mean, Rockwall is at 12 or 13 D1 commits, and I mean, they get beat on the last second by Heath, and then Longview 21-31. What's going on with Rockwall? I expected a lot more.
Rockwall, I mean, as it seems right now, I mean, they're in the same position they were last year. They started off 1-2 in district last year and ended up making the playoffs. But this year it's going to be much tougher because there's a lot. The District 11-6A is the District of Menace, some people like to call it, because every team can beat any other team any given week. But it almost looks like a team that looks good on paper but just can't execute quite right yet. They better hope this off week benefits them very much, because they're going to have to come down this stretch with 2 or 3 wins in a row if they want a chance of getting that 4th spot.
I agree with you 100%. Let's talk about what you and I talked about earlier: standings, pretenders, contenders. What do you got for me?
So, yeah, definitely some contenders in the district. You got Mesquite Horn, who's just waltzed through everybody in the district so far. They're 3-0 going into the bye week here. They've handled every opponent they face pretty well here in district play. No one's really given them a shot at run for their money yet, but a true test for them will come after the bye week when they play Rockwall at home at Hamby Stadium in Mesquite. That'll be a test for both teams because Rockwall really needs that win. They got a big win over the co-champion John Tyler Lions last year. Rockwall did, to give them that 4th spot. Or 3rd spot. It was tied for the 3rd spot, but ultimately the 4th. So they need another win like they did last year to get into the playoffs, so they can get to 2-2 in district. And also Rockwall Heath, they're 3-0 in district for the first time since 2011. And they've got some studs on their team. Tanner McAllister has just been leading them on offense and defense. He played 147 total plays against that game against Rockwall. And so he can do anything that the coach asks him to do. And I would say a pretender in the district so far. We expected a lot more out of Tyler Lee. Their quarterback, Chance Amy, he's still pretty lethal on his feet and can throw pretty well as well. So they haven't really come out with their game plan yet, and they're 0-3 to start off district play. And so they haven't really seen much from Tyler Lee.
Well, let's go to the pick 6 then, Nick. And I agree with you on, it was Horn, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's a tough team. Even in the non-district at the Cotton Bowl, I mean, they're a tough team to deal with, anybody in that district. But anyway, let's go Jesuit and Skyline.
Oh, I had to get that one to Jesuit. I'm a childhood friend of the quarterback from Jesuit, so I had to give it to Jesuit.
Okay, and he is a very good quarterback too.
Indeed, yeah, for sure.
And by the way, one of my fraternity brothers is his son is a linebacker for Jesuit.
Jesuit is all the way around. How about that?
But that's an important game. I mean, Jesuit and Skyline, it could end up being the last playoff spot, or they could be the 3rd and 4th. I mean, Jesuit I mean, it's hard to argue that they've had the hardest schedule in the state so far.
Yeah,
But-
and it's Skyline, they've started off slow, but they've really they're trying to return to what they were a couple 3 years ago whenever they made it to the state semifinals, and
you're right.
Their offense is looking really good.
You're right. I mean, I did not expect them to be like Highlands. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
What
for
do you
sure.
think?
For
Okay.
sure.
Martin and Mansfield.
Arlington Martin's just unstoppable. I can't say their quarterback's name. June, I can't say it, but I know he's fantastic.
Just call him Juma. I mean, we always call him Juma. So
Juma it is. He's just been Ottaviano, I believe it is, but he's been incredible. Just kind of a star that came out of nowhere this year for Martin. They won 76-0 last week against Pascal, and they kind of like let off the gas in the fourth quarter. Like they easily could have scored 90, and they're an incredible team so far.
He's out of nowhere as a quarterback, but as a running back, I mean, last year, I mean, he was a stud as a running back. I mean,
for sure. He's definitely got that running game down.
Right. Geyer and McKinney. Who would have thought this would have been a big game this time of year?
That's true. McKinney's kind of surprised a lot of people. But I have to give the nod to Geyer. They handled Plano East. They hurt me on picks last week.
Oh, you're right. They played Plano East. Right?
Yeah, they hurt me on my picks last week, but so I'm gonna have to take Geyer this week. I can't double dip them like that.
Well, here's a tough one. Hebron and Marcus.
Oh, two pretty good teams. I'm gonna have to give the nod to Marcus. They're always strong on the spread offense side, so I have to give it to Marcus.
And what's funny is, I mean, everybody's pretty much split tonight on Marcus and Hebron. I mean, it's pretty much down the middle who the picks are, Hebron and Marcus. So
for sure,
look forward to that game. And here's another one, Timberview and Legacy. I mean, that's a tough one.
Man, both of these teams coming out of a branch school in a district this year. Coin, have to go with probably Timberview.
Yeah, I mean, I think Timberview too, but I mean, that's a tough pick. All right. And last, and this is another tough one, West Mesquite at Highland Park.
Oh, West Mesquite, they actually beat my Rockwall Heath Hawks week 2. But Highland Park, their offense is incredible, and John Stephen Jones is looking even better than he did last year. I'll be the first to say that I was not a John Stephen Jones fan after the state championship game last year, but he's proven me wrong this year. So he's definitely playing well and playing to college potential. So I'm going to have to give that one to Highland Park.
All right. Well, then what's going on the week after this for the Rockwall schools? I know they're off this week. What do we got going the week after? Do you know?
Rockwall, they'll be heading over to Hamby Stadium in Mesquite to take on Horn. Big game in that district for both teams. Horn to reestablish dominance coming out of the bye week. And then Rockwall to try to get on pace because they're in crunch time now. They're in scramble time. No more messing around for Rockwall. They got to find what needs to work on the defensive side because their offense, they seem to be clicking, but they really need to figure out what's happening on that defensive side. And then across the lake in Rockwall, Heath will be taking on John Tyler at home for their homecoming game. John Tyler kind of been up and down this year. They were blown out by Rockwall in the opening game of the district, then came back and beat a couple teams, and now they're looking at 2-1. So that's a big game in the district as well for that 2-3 seed spot. But I could realistically see a Week 11 district championship, Mesquite Horn, Rockwall Heath. The big thing for Rockwall Heath is going to be injuries. They've been decimated by injuries in years past, and it's kind of starting to hurt them again this year. They lost two defensive linemen in the North Mesquite game. One to a broken leg out for the season, and another one with a foot injury. Not sure how long that one's out, but injuries are going to be key for Rockwall Heath because once their size starts to come down, then Horn starts to come up, and that'll be big in that district.
Here on Out of Bounds, and hey, next week, big announcement right here that nobody knows.
Right here, OU baby, back in the top.
We're bringing Greg Sherman into the podcast next week, and so we'll have San Antonio and Austin in the podcast.
Excellent.
For Friday Night Glory, we're going to have all of Texas here very soon. But next week, check us out for DFW, San Antonio, Austin, and for Malik Wright, Lauren Moore, Kenny Matthews, Terrence Johnson, Riley Byers, Matthew Davidson, Taylor Bear, producing the whole thing, putting this whole thing together. So shout out to Taylor. We'll see you next week.
See you, fellas. Have a good weekend.
Good night, everybody. Be safe.
Peace out.